like to also quote something from the Sutta. It's from Samyutta Nikaya 20.7. It states like this: thus, you should train yourselves. We will listen when discourses that are words of the Tathagata, deep in their meaning, are being recited. We will lend ear, will let our hearts on knowing them, will regard these teachings as worth grasping and mastering. That's how you should train yourselves. So I hope you'll pay very careful attention to what Ade Dhammabuddha is going to tell us, and you'll go away definitely very much benefited. Thank you again.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Good evening. Today, our chairman here, Dr. Lim, given me 9 topics to talk. But I think I won't talk too much. I hope you all will put on your thinking caps and ask questions, because if you ask, then we can discuss what you are interested in. If I keep talking, you might not be interested in what I'm talking about. Also, I've given many talks and they are recorded, and you can listen to those CDs. But I'll try to talk a bit what Salim has asked me to talk now. Firstly, the Buddha is our role model. The Buddha is one of the few founders of a religion which is very much respected in the world for being very peaceful, for being a very exemplary character in the world. He is a person of lofty attainments and who teaches people the path to attain the same lofty heights that he and his Arahant disciples have attained. So, the Buddha is our model for us to follow. Whether we are monks or lay people, he is still a very exemplary character for us to follow. And his teachings are found in the suttas, the discourses. And if we take the trouble to study those suttas or discourses of the Buddha, then we can get very good advice there. His teachings are not only meant for monks. The Buddha's teachings, a lot of his suttas are about lay life, because many of the questions that were posed to the Buddha were by lay people, and some of them were very ordinary questions that you yourself might ask. These have been asked before, so the answers are all found in the suttas. And then for monks like us, the Buddha has also very deep discourses which teach us the way to get out of samsara. So the Buddha's teachings vary from a low level up to the highest level. And there is much we can learn from the suttas if only we take the trouble to study it. According to the Buddha, when he looked into the past 91 world cycles, which is an extremely long time, he said he saw only 6 Sammasambuddhas, 6 Buddhas who were willing to teach the Dhamma. 99.9% of Buddhas are Pacceka Buddhas. They know as much as our Sammasambuddha, but they are not willing to teach. Why do I say they know as much? Because our own Buddha, Sakyamuni Buddha or Gautama Buddha, he himself, after attaining enlightenment, he decided not to teach. He decided to become a Pacceka Buddha. But then the Brahma Sahampati, the celestial heavenly being, came to plead with him to teach. And then after pleading 3 times, then only he decided to teach. So there is no difference between a Sammasambuddha and a Pacceka Buddha, except that one wants to teach and one does not want to teach. However, there are later books, they tend to say things that the Buddha never said. Some people say in the books that Pacceka Buddha does not have the ability to teach. It's not true. He knows as much as a Sammasambuddha, so he should be able to teach as much. And then from the discourses of the Buddha, the suttas, we can get right view of life, right view of the things, of things as they really are. And the Buddha said there are 2 types of right view: worldly right view and Aryan right view. Worldly right view is belief in karma vipaka, the law of karma and its effect. Karma is intentional action. So if we intentionally do some deed, whether by body, speech or thought, then there is a resultant effect of it, which is called the vipaka. So the law of karma vipaka basically is that if we benefit living beings, then we will receive happiness, and if we harm other living beings, then we will have to suffer for it. So if a person believes in karma vipaka, then he tends to be careful in his actions, not to harm other living beings. But if a person does not believe in karma vipaka, then he can do atrocious things for which he will have to suffer in hell later. That is worldly right view. And wrong view, of course, is not to believe in this law of karma vipaka. And then Aryan right view is understanding of the 4 noble truths. The noble truth of suffering, the cause of suffering in this world, the cessation of suffering and the path leading to the cessation of suffering. If you understand the 4 noble truths, even a basic understanding, you become an Aryan. You have entered the stream, you become a noble person, and you are on your way out of samsara, out of the round of rebirths. That's why studying the suttas or listening to the Dhamma, if it's based on the original teachings of the Buddha, that is the surest way to help us attain stream entry, the first stage of Aryahood. So that is Aryan right view. And if you don't understand the 4 noble truths, then you don't have Aryan right view, you have wrong view. Now, the suttas give us the theory on how to practice, how to lead our lives. And it also gives higher teachings on how to purify our mind and control our mind. If we don't purify and control our mind, then even though we may understand that certain things we should not do, but we still do because we are not in control of our mind. We don't have a whole of our mind. And if you don't have this control over your mind, certain things that you know that you should do, also sometimes you don't have the will to do. So attaining this purification and control of the mind is quite important. We know, for example, very ordinary things that we can be weak and do the wrong things or fail to do the good things. As the English saying goes, the spirit is willing but the flesh is weak. So a very good example is like committing adultery. A person may be a family man, because of constant contact with the secretary in the office, then emotional involvement may lead to adultery. So sometimes a person may know that it's wrong, but he keeps going in that direction because his mind is weak. So cultivation of the mind is very important. Then we can act according to the Dhamma. Otherwise, we may know some theory and yet we are not able to carry it out. So this purification of the mind is through meditation. And in the Buddha's teachings, Buddhist meditation is the first jhana, the second jhana, third jhana, and the fourth jhana. Only this is Buddhist meditation, because in the Majjhima Nikaya, Venerable Ananda, a very close disciple of the Buddha, was asked, what type of meditation is praised by the Buddha? And he said, the first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, and fourth jhana. This is samatha meditation. Samatha or meditation. Samatha means tranquilization of the mind. Practice that leads to tranquility of the mind. There is another term in the suttas, which is vipassana. Vipassana, and the Buddha says samatha and vipassana are necessary for liberation. And this word vipassana means contemplation, and it has nothing to do with meditation. And nowadays, people have the wrong view that vipassana is vipassana meditation. Vipassana is contemplation, and the Buddha says in the suttas, there are 5 occasions when a person becomes liberated or becomes an arahant. The first one is listening, when he is listening to the Dhamma. The second is when he is teaching the Dhamma. The third is when he is repeating the Dhamma. The fourth is when he is reflecting on the Dhamma. And only the last occasion is during meditation, and he is contemplating on the Samadhi Nimitta. So the first 4 have to do with the Dhamma. So these first 4 is actually vipassana, listening to the Dhamma, teaching the Dhamma, repeating the Dhamma, and reflecting on the Dhamma. This is vipassana. It was only about 30 years ago that some Burmese monks started to create vipassana meditation. And the first one was called Mahasi method of meditation. It was not called the Buddha's method of meditation. It was called Mahasi method of meditation because it was created by Mahasi Sayadaw based on later books. So vipassana meditation is something new. 50 years ago, nobody heard of vipassana meditation. So we have to be very careful. We can only come to this conclusion if we study the suttas carefully. And unfortunately, some people are so taken up by meditation that they jump into meditation and then they are not bothered to study the Buddha's words. They don't know that the Buddha stressed on listening to the Buddha's words. That's why the Buddha called his disciples, all his disciples, whether monks or nuns or lay people, he called all of them savakas, listeners or hearers. So he wants all of us who are followers of the Buddha to listen to his words. If you don't listen to the Buddha's words, You are like those external ascetics who practice very hard on meditation or in their ascetic practices, and if they are successful, they end up something like Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ was a first-class meditator. So in that respect, he was a holy man because his mind is cleared of all the defilements, so that he had psychic power. He could walk on the water, he could cure people and all that. He could drive away spirits from people's bodies and all that. But because he did not have the opportunity to hear the original teachings of the Buddha, so he did not become an Arya. But such a person, because he had attained the 4 jhanas, if he had the opportunity to hear the Buddha's words, he can easily become enlightened, become an Arahant. So listening to the Buddha's words is extremely important. If we learn the Buddha's teachings and put it into practice, we will get a lot of happiness, Why? Because the Buddha said that there are some basic things that we should practice. For example, generosity. If we practice generosity and we practice charity, by being kind to other people, we receive happiness in return. And secondly, if we keep our moral precepts by not harming other living beings, basically the precept of not killing, not stealing, not committing adultery, not lying, not carrying tales and causing disharmony, not using coarse speech, not engaging in idle gossip. All these things, if we practice these precepts, then also we do not suffer from remorse. If a person does not keep the precepts, then he harms other living beings. And after that, that person will have remorse, especially at the moment of death. There are some people who like to kill animals. They go hunting, or they slaughter chickens, or they slaughter pigs and all that. At the last moments when they are dying, they have a lot of fear. And some of them, they start to behave like those animals that they kill. For example, a person slaughters pigs, he may squeal like a pig. This is, we have heard some people say that. So, if we keep our precepts and we don't harm other living beings, that again is a source of happiness to us. And when we are dying, we will have the confidence that we will go to a good place. And then, if we meditate and attain the jhanas, then that is the highest happiness we can get, because those states of jhana are very high states that are very hard to achieve. But if you can achieve those states, then you get great bliss. It's even more satisfying than indulging in drugs and all that. These people indulge in drugs because they get high, they get very happy for a short while, but unfortunately after that they get dukkha. But these states of jhana are prolonged states of happiness and bliss. So the Buddha said, if a person attains the 2nd jhana and constantly abides in the 2nd jhana, that person is likely to be reborn in the 2nd jhana plane, in the form heavens. And when that person is reborn there, every day he is exclaiming, happiness, happiness, sukha, sukha, so happy. The mind itself gives us that happiness. This contentment and happiness is a state from within us. If we learn how to develop that happiness and that contentment, it comes from within us. It does not depend on outside conditions. A lot of us, we don't realize that, so we look for happiness outside. keep chasing after worldly things that give us happiness. But this worldly happiness is very fleeting, very short while, and it doesn't last. And sometimes you make a lot of effort to get that happiness, and yet it lasts so long. It's not worth it. But states of meditative bliss, they are harder to achieve, but when you achieve it, then it is lasting. So, the practice of the Dhamma can give us a lot of happiness. There is a lot of advice given in the Buddha's discourses on how to live our life properly, how to live our life skillfully. There are many ways we can live our life, but the best way is to live it skillfully, so that we get the maximum happiness in life, satisfaction. Before I came into the Dhamma, I had a lot of questions, like most people, 1,001 questions. But after I studied the Buddha's words, I found all my questions answered. No more questions. So you can learn a lot from the Buddha's words. And then when we study the Buddha's words and we practice according to what the Buddha teaches us, then we will understand reality, understand the truth about this world. What is the meaning of this world, where we came from, and all that. All of us, when we come into this world, we don't know what is the purpose of life. So, many people, especially Chinese, we chase after worldly things like money and all that, and are so taken up by the worldly path that we forget about the spiritual side, religious side. So, in the end, they get a lot of unhappiness. But we study the Dhamma, then we understand what life is about. That not happiness, money does not give us total happiness. Money only helps to satisfy some of our desires, but those desires are also not really satisfactory. The higher happiness we want can be achieved by learning the Dhamma and putting the Dhamma into practice. The Dhamma actually, the Buddha taught us the Dhamma to understand the world as it really is. This Dhamma is not something new. The Buddha said, whether he teaches the Dhamma or he does not teach the Dhamma, this law of the Dhamma continues to prevail. So the Dhamma is all about natural laws, about the world as it really is. So because the Buddha is enlightened, has understood the world as it is, he has attained those psychic powers where he can see the past, he can see the present, he can see the future, he can see the different states of existence, he can see beings that our ordinary eyes cannot see, ghosts and devas and all that. So because he has understood the world, he is trying to make us understand the world. So if we understand the world, then we know that there are certain natural laws in the world, and if we abide by these natural laws, then we are safe. We will not suffer so much. But if we go against these natural laws of the world, then we are likely to suffer a lot. So the Buddha did not talk about the Creator God. The Buddha talked about natural laws in this world. So from his teachings, we can understand that this God concept that most people believe in, to us Buddhists, God is Mother Nature. God is a Mother Nature, a natural force that has created the world and controls the world. It is not a being out there that we need to pray to. It is not a being out there that we need to fear. It is not a being out there that determines whether we go to heaven or to hell. So So Mother Nature just has all these natural laws. So our purpose in life is to understand these laws, because we are in this round of rebirths. We die and then we come back again and again and again. So unless we understand nature as it really is, we will continue in this long cycle of rebirths. So if we understand the Dhamma, then we will understand that the Buddha has taught a way out of this round of rebirths. And if we follow the path taught by him, we will reduce our suffering in this very life and in future lives. And also we will walk the path that brings us out of samsara. In the Buddha's teachings, to become an Arya and be on the stream that brings you out of this round of rebirth is not that difficult. And this attaining this stream entry, the lowest path of Aryahood, is by listening to the Buddha's discourses. We find in the suttas and the Vinaya, the teachings of the Buddha, that all the people who attained stream entry, became Aryas, all did so by listening to the Buddha's words. And so much so that even there was a time when some people were hired to kill the Buddha, to murder the Buddha. And the Buddha made them sit down, and the Buddha discoursed to them the Dhamma. And after listening to the Buddha's discourse, even these hired killers also attained stream entry. And there was another person also who used to drink liquor, and after he passed away, the Buddha also said he had attained stream entry. So much so that some people did not believe. So when the Buddha heard that these people did not believe, the Buddha said, why? Even the trees, if they could understand what I say, even they also can attain stream entry. So what the Buddha is trying to say that it is not difficult for us to become an Arya and be on the way out of samsara if we take the trouble to go and study the discourses of the Buddha, the suttas. So if we don't get a set of these Nikayas and study it, then it is very regrettable, because here and now you have the opportunity to become an Arya, which is worth more than anything else you can get in this world. Even becoming a king of the whole wide world is nothing at all compared to attaining stream entry. Because once you attain stream entry, you will never fall into the woeful plains again. You will never be reborn as a ghost, an animal, or in hell. And you only have 7 more lifetimes left in samsara before you enter Nibbana. And every lifetime you're either born in heaven or as a human being. And even if you come back as a human being, you will have a lot of happiness, because a person who is an Arya has so much merit that he will have great happiness in every human life left. So the most important ambition for us as Buddhists is to attain stream entry. So we must take more trouble to listen to the Buddha's discourses, and either by reading the suttas or by listening to talks that are based on the original teachings of the Buddha. Now, some people think that Buddhism is a stifling and pessimistic religion. This is not true, because if we understand the Buddha's teachings, then it is not stifling to keep the precepts, because we know that the precepts, if we keep the precepts, it gives us happiness in this life and even future lives. Because if you don't keep the precepts, then you harm other living beings, and you will have a lot of remorse later. And it is not pessimistic because it does not say that you are going to hell or you are going to become a ghost or what. We act like a Deva or a Devi, then we will be reborn as a Deva or a Devi. If we act very selfishly, then we are likely to be reborn as a ghost. And if we act like an animal, then we are likely to be reborn as an animal. And if we harm other beings severely, then we are bound for hell. So we choose our actions determine where we are going to be reborn. So it is Buddhism is not a stifling and pessimistic religion because it doesn't say that you are going to hell or what. It just says that your rebirth depends on yourself. And it's a very realistic religion. It does not say that you can bribe heaven by some means, and then some simple means, and then you can go to heaven. No, you have to work for it. If you want to go to heaven, you have to work for it. You have to behave like a heavenly being. But you want to go to the woeful plains, you don't have to work. Very easy to go to the woeful plains, as easy as falling off a chair. So I think I'll stop here.